around the world because DC dies. You can only produce enough. So after a couple of miles of cable, it just, low voltage DC just dies. I won't talk to you about what we learned in engineering about that. Okay, so one of the things we need to learn is what are some of the definitions? Number one, energy. Energy is work done. So if you're using energy, you're getting something done. Lifting an object, pumping water, drying your clothes. The motor is turning, work done. Power, on the other hand, is the rate at which energy is being used. It's the rate. So we use watts to explain power in our homes and in our factories. Example, I can have a 100-watt light bulb in my closet. It's off. Doesn't use any energy, but it's a 100-watt light bulb. Now, if I want to talk about energy, then that light bulb has to be on for a certain length of time. Now, the language that we use, we don't say we have energy plants. We have power plants, because that's the amount of energy we can get out of that plant over in a continuous fashion. So if we talk about a power plant, we need what? Okay, we're going to skip that one. That's kind of out of place there. So yeah, why don't you close the door? There's a door stopper there. Now, when it comes to energy or power, we can relate it to the individual person. So we can have somebody who's jogging, dancing, swimming, cycling, walking. That's the amount of energy that somebody is going to be using to do those things. However, not really. You would use up that much energy in 1 hour or 2 hours. You would use twice that. In 10 hours, you would use 10 times that much energy. So that really is power, joules. That's the definition of energy. So power is joules per second, and energy is simply joules. Energy or power, so if you're jogging, you're going to use 2.4 million joules of energy. Okay, we say that's the amount of energy, but not really. It's joules per hour, so that's a definition of power. You're not going to be jogging for an hour, are you? Okay, with that physical exertion, I don't know anything I'd like to do for a whole hour to wear off all that energy. We could use the same amount of energy for watching TV, but that would take 120 hours to do the same thing. So power in jogging is 24,000 kilojoules per hour, and watching TV is 20 K joules per hour. Power, however, is the most important thing that you need to use to describe power generation or energy in our world around us in electrical power. So again, power is watts. It's the rate at which energy is used. Okay, for each hour we use, we used to pay about 5 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's the amount that they're paying in the US, where they don't have that much regulation as we do in Ontario. We have the highest electrical rates in all of North America in Ontario. We have the highest electrical rates. And in fact, the energy costs are the lowest they've been in decades. Okay, so the only reason for that is political will to get rid of regulation.
Could I take a picture of the previous slide? Is it possible?
Yes, you can. I think you might have to. Oh, you know what? That's going to be online.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You can download it. Okay. So what is an energy source? Now this is I've been teaching this for a long time. I went through engineering, and something hit me between the eyes, and I realized that there's a difference between an energy source and an energy carrier. So let's look at energy sources. These are energy sources. We've got electromagnetic, waves and particle energy, electrical, electron flow, gravitational, kinetic object, moving objects, chemical, batteries, nuclear power, nuclear reaction, elastic potential, so, something stored in energy. Even automobiles, they have stored energy somehow, some way, as an elastic. And we've got thermal, and thermal simply is basically waste energy, right? Unless we need it to keep warm. Energy carrier, these numbers I'm using, they're round numbers and they're used for a reason because it's easy, simple, we can see it and so can the students. So here's our, the reason for a transformer. We're now bumping it up to, that's 1,200,000 volts. And then there's my power. There's my voltage, what current, I'm getting 1 amp now. Wait a minute, 1 amp? Wait a minute. That power is going to the town, it's got to go through that 1 ohm. 1 ohm times 1 amp times 1 amp, I'm losing only 1 watt. That's why we use alternating current to generate electricity. Now, it amazes me how politicians can get it always wrong. We don't need a power plant in London to power up London. We don't need a power plant in Toronto to power up Toronto. You can put them anywhere because you can have all these high voltage lines. Way back in the 70s, there was a debate as to, they wanted to, this is James Bay, right? They wanted to dam James Bay. You got to think about that a little bit, right? That's incredible. And by 1977, they said, no, we're not going to do it. Why? Because we have what? Here's Ontario, here's Quebec, and what else is in there? A lot of natives in there, and nobody could agree on anything. So what Quebec did was they did, I think it was maybe 4 hydro plants up there, and they're pumping that energy down to us. And so we don't need a natural gas plant in Toronto. And anybody who built it there didn't know what they were thinking about doing. And then they tore it down, which again, they didn't know what they were doing either. So we can think of all these things. I'm not sure where this came from, but this is generation that we find often in our homes. We have lots of different things. I'm not sure what a fossil fuel power plant is. That's kind of pretty generic. We've got uranium down there. Geothermal. What's geothermal?
Iceland.
What's that?
Iceland.
Yeah, they will have it there. Do we see any power plants geothermal being produced? No. Why? They tried it in California and it caused what? Yeah, so let's not do that. Because you're going very close to the magma. You can't really do that. Well, in Iceland, they're always rumbling and roaring, so maybe they don't even notice that they're doing any damage, but you don't want to do it. This is not the geothermal we're talking about when you heat your house. It's different, okay? You're not generating electrical power. And my brother-in-law was a farmer, was asked if he wanted one of these, and it would double his energy cost. He said, why would I do that? Solar power, electrical, well, that's transmission, refinery, so you've got oil, natural gas, we've got, thought they had solar panel. Oh, solar thermal power. Not generating electricity. That would be kind of your cubes on your house when you're trying to heat your water for your pool, right? Then we've also got hydroelectric power. Now, one of the benefits of hydroelectric power, especially like places like Africa, is you get 2 benefits out of it. If you dam a river, you get water to clean water for the people who are living there, and you get electrical energy, which means they don't have to burn wood inside their houses. These are pretty small, but it would be good for you to look at something like this, and I'll tell you what this is all about. These are appliances, so you can go online. There's all sorts of pages up here. This is the power in watts that are available for the appliance, and this is typical usage. I'm not sure what typical usage is. We had 5 kids, so my typical usage isn't. It's going to be much different than my mother-in-law, who lives all by herself. But you can see that power is needed to power all of our devices. So here is power. Look at the size of these units. And this is here's the size of the units. Notice we've got 3, 6, 3, 3, 10, 3. Over here we got 3,000, 3,400, 5,000. The power that we need to generate for our homes, the units that need more power than anything else are the ones that will produce heat and drive a motor. And if you look at it very carefully, my computer can live, or sorry, let's go a little bit easier because it's my life goal never to own a cell phone. I got a computer, but not a cell phone. That cell phone could probably live off of a car battery for weeks, maybe months. Very low current going into this thing. A radio on a car battery would probably last a year or more. It would just go on forever. However, you put, and that's what we did was this guy right here. I picked this up because I wanted to use tools outside where there's no power, but way back in 2003, a computer froze in Ohio and the grid went down. So I plugged this thing into our car and we just simply recharged our freezers in our house so that it was a pretty hot summer. So that's what we did. So freezers, fridges, your dryers, if it's an electric dryer, lots of power. We'll consume it like crazy. Electronics, forget it. It doesn't do anything. You're trying to like blowing against the wind when you're dealing with that. So again, that's what you need. So when you're looking at conserving energy in your home, you're looking for anything that generates heat or makes lots of noise. Okay, here are some of the power plants. You can Google these all you want. There's lots of different power plants everywhere. So you've got large hydroelectric plants I'm going to show you a diagram soon about just what they're like in Canada, where they are, and what kind of power they're producing. But here is energy consumption worldwide. So I looked at that and I thought, boy, this is kind of weird. These different terminologies, they've got trillion kilowatts, and then somebody's using a petawatt, and think, let's get rid of it, let's use scientific notation. So this, 20 times 10 to the power of 15, and here you've got 511 times 10 to the power of 9 from Canada. Okay? This tells you just how much power needs to be supplied to Canada. And this is how Canada primarily gets its power. We do have remote locations, so that's why you have combustion. I think they're going to be replaced with these smaller nuclear power packs. I think Curiosity has a nice small power pack that they dropped on Mars way back 2 years ago. So 40 megawatts is kind of neat. But up in remote areas, you need combustion. Thermal nuclear, 15% in Canada, 21 is thermal electric, and 64 is water, because Canada's got more water than I think any other country in the world. It's not true, geography, folks. It's got a lot of water. But here's the thing. Everything except hydro, what happens is they heat up water, which it causes it to expand, and you get to turn a turbine. So that's how for the most part, we'll take a look. There it is there. Okay, so here we have a picture of the worldwide picture of what's going on when we talk about electrical power. Here is petroleum. We've got coal, natural gas, hydro, and nuclear right there. So primarily, around the world, because it's more dry than it is wet, Canada's unique, we've got limited hydro, but this is the rest of it. Well, it was also unfortunate that I was reading something about Africa. There was an environmentalist group that was very proud that it actually got 300 hydroelectric plants killed in Africa. They just weren't allowed to build them all together because of their promotion against hydroelectricity. And of course, that's the cleanest form of energy we've got, right? Most efficient, et cetera, et cetera. And that's pretty sad, especially seeing that the poor people are the ones that are suffering the most. They would actually have water and a good, clean source of energy rather than burning fossil fuels, et cetera. Why do we need large power plants? We need large power plants primarily because wherever you've got them, your life expectancy climbs, pollution declines, society becomes richer. If you want to compare it to times in the past, 1900s, what did we do? Everything was organic. You were pitching manure. Hands were in the dirt. You were manual labor. You were burning coal. My father worked in a coal mine in Poland, and nobody was over 40 in the coal mines because they simply had stone lung, et cetera, et cetera. He was there when he was 13 years of age. So we now have larger power plants and we get longer life expectancy. There's a wonderful video out if you want. This is a screenshot. He animates this throughout 100 and some years. And so this is 2012. And so here we've got Africa, and here is industrial countries, life expectancy, and how rich they are. So energy, when it becomes cheap and clean, people will simply improve their health and wealth and family life. So it really is a neat thing to see this happen. Now, if you've noticed all the way through this presentation, I never mentioned anything about wind or solar. Where is it? Well, here's the important part with wind and solar, and that is we need energy at 6 at night. I don't know about you. When did you eat supper last night? Around 6? Any lights on? Any sun out there? What's the wind doing at that time? So at this point, we need to have a power plant ready to supply our needs. And I'm going to show you, if we have time, I'll show you what they do in England, because at 5 o'clock, everybody plugs in their tea kettle, and they got to do something. Okay, so electrical energy need. This applies to all industrial countries. There are peak demand periods, and here we have the graph. So here is a weekly graph. You can find these for any country, any industrial country, and this is what you have. Notice the cycles.